Oh, we are going live. And we are live. I love how I say we're going live. All right. Good morning, people. So we are coming up in just a few seconds.
Business Express, brought to you by
All right, you can hear me clearly, yeah?
Transaction Solutions. You can depend on.
Well, Lagos, here we are. It is gone past 6:30, which means a Business Express for a Monday morning. And joining me for today's episode, as usual, is Rotus. Good morning. Hey, Rotus.
Good morning, Shopware. Good morning, viewers. Good morning to all our listeners. Hope everyone, you can hear me, yeah?
Yes. We can hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic. Good morning.
All right. So what is going on, Rotus? I'm hearing news about what's happening on with the airlines and fare hikes. But before we get into that, let's just tell you a little bit about how you can join today's conversation, because I know this is affecting you. You can send WhatsApp messages in to 0809 444 981. You can also use the hashtag Business Express 981 up on Twitter and tag us. We are at Smooth981FM and Rotus is at Rotanquo. So tag us in your conversations. All right, Rotus, so what's up?
Yeah, so it was noticed this weekend, I think by The Guardian, that airfare has been increased by domestic airlines. So I guess the base fare for a one-way trip, you can pick Lagos to Abuja. I think it was about a month ago. I paid 23,000 naira to head to Abuja for a conference that I was moderating, a panel I was moderating. And I paid. I remember I looked at the ticket. I was like, gosh, this is pretty low. The base fare is about 30,000 naira one way, but they've now apparently, according to investigations from The Guardian, they've that to a minimum of 50,000, and in some cases as high as 80,000 naira. It's quite a hike. And one of the reasons for that is jet fuel, A1 jet fuel, aviation fuel. That's the fuel that essentially the planes use to move up and down. It's climbed by 110% or even more, maybe 120% over the past year. It was selling at about 190 naira per liter a year ago, and now it's over 400. It's about 420, 425. So you can imagine what that does to the operational costs of an airline, where
it goes as high as the skies in which we're flying.
Exactly. So and this is another interesting thing. The aviation fuel is deregulated, so there's no subsidies on it. Kind of like how there's no subsidies on diesel, right? Diesel is about in the 400 naira, 390, 400 naira levels, goes up and down as oil prices climb. So for the aviation industry, this is one of the challenges that they face. Another thing they face is maintenance costs and access to foreign exchange. I remember IATA, the International, I think it's Aviation Transport Agency or so, released a report saying that Nigeria was one of the top countries where foreign exchange is trapped for airlines. They're not able to repatriate out of the country due to FX challenges and so on. So another issue that they face is infrastructure. If you want to be able to make more money, you have to have more flights, right? But Nigeria's flight situation is limited between a window whereby I think only about 16 airports or 17 across the country are able to operate nighttime flights because the runways in many of the other airports don't have necessary lighting to allow airlines to land after 6 p.m. So once it starts to get dark, if you miss that 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. window, then they cancel flights. They'll just
you're grounded.
There are a bunch of people who can attest to how long they've have to wait for a flight if it's in the afternoon. I don't fly anything after 7 a.m. If I can't catch a flight at 6:50 a.m., 7 a.m. latest, I'm not flying that day because I know that there could be issues with flight delays and so on. I mean, someone who was told me that they were flying to, I think it was Asaba. They had a 4 p.m. flight. They didn't end up leaving until like later on or the next day or so.
It's ridiculous. Like those waiting times are legendary. But which is why we had the news last week. I don't know if you remember. Was it the House of Reps threatening and saying we're going to make sure that we open up this space to international airlines? But everybody was wondering, yeah, how's that going to work?
Exactly. I mean, there's challenges in the sector. I've always wondered whether ticket prices needed to be increased because if you convert those ticket prices to dollars, I mean, they're pretty low. And even, if you don't have enough infrastructure that allows planes to land after a certain window, then you are restricting the number of flights that can take place. And if you restrict the number of flights that can take place, you're now reducing the amount of volumes. And volume, when price times volume is where you get your revenue from, right? So if new challenges, then you're going to have to see price hikes like the ones that we're seeing. Now, as far as reactions, I mean, The Guardian was saying that some people are considering going by road. I haven't traveled by road I don't know when the last time I traveled by road. I mean, it's probably about 10 years or so because of the safety issues on the roads. You've seen more people who can afford to do so travel by air. I mean, people still travel by road, don't get me wrong. People still travel by road,
Yeah, but if you
across the country.
If you think back to Christmas, a lot of people saying that,
yes.
Oh, I'm going to be traveling by air this time around because the roads those streets aren't safe.
So one is an infrastructure issue, right? I mean, you notice how infrastructure just keeps coming up in this conversation over and over again. If the roads are not pliable, then you're going to have accidents, you're going to have traffic, you're going to have gridlock. Then there's the infrastructure problem. Then there's also the safety issue, whereby you've mentioned Christmas. Christmas is a period where, unfortunately, you've got a high level of armed robberies because they know that people are exactly.
I was about to say looking for their next Christmas dinner from poor people traveling the roads.
Exactly. So Maxwell has pushed a lot of people to fly more, at least for those who can afford to. So with this increase in price now, what now happens to those who are just able to afford that 30,000 or ticket or 60,000 round trip, who now have to either pay 100,000 or 160,000 round trip in order to get to where they need to go? So it just shows that when we think about oil prices rising, and we think about the fact that it's supposed to bring in more revenue for Nigeria, there's a flip side to that argument, right? And we're seeing that flip side in diesel costs. I mean, NARTO, the National, I think is Association of Road Transport Operators, were complaining about how the trucks that they use, which run on diesel, that are supposed to transport fuel from depots to different fuel stations, it's increased. And the money that they get from the government in compensation, that's static. It hasn't moved. So you see these unregulated diesel affecting NATO operators. We see unregulated aviation fuel affecting aviation players in the space.
And who does it affect at the end of the day?
For us, it comes down. It also filters its way down to us, which is why the whole PMS subsidy issue. I mean, by this time, if fuel PMS was unregulated, I can only imagine what we'll be paying now at the pump and how that would impact inflation and how it would impact so many other things. So I think this is what the government can't just afford to keep it going. But I hope I'm not talking out of both sides of my mouth. I just understand that all these things we're talking about now, you can imagine if you and I had to pay for fuel 400 naira a liter or 450 if PMS was deregulated.
Rotas, I would become very, very fit. You will see me walking the roads.
Exactly. So it's a tough situation with the fuel, but Nigeria's aviation sector, I must say this though, by Courtney, the company that concessioned, that got MM2 was concession to.
Mm-hmm.
There are privately run airports. We need more privately run airports in Nigeria. MM2, I'm very impressed with how the airlines run. If you're supposed to be there on a particular time, the COVID checks, you're getting a boarding pass online, the checking flow when you get to your boarding gates. Nigerian Airlines, I mean, as far as the privates, from what I've been seeing, they've been run well. What we now need to see is whether or not other states need airports, state-run airports versus privately run airports. That's the next conversation as far as efficiency is concerned. If we go by what we're seeing to what I'm seeing, I'm impressed. It needs to carry on. So I don't want this to be an episode where we just dog the aviation industry and say it's all about problems. The privately run MM2 is an example of how well, the eateries, the officials, they're doing a good job. So the issue though is does every state in Nigeria deserve an airport? Is there enough traffic outside of Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt? Is there enough traffic to justify every other state having an airport? But despite the challenges, from what I've seen, privately run aviation sectors, they do better than government run ones.
All right, we've got a couple of messages, and this one in from El Como, who says, "Hi, Rodas. As of last week, PMS was $1.23, which is 516 naira and 60 kobo at 420 naira CBN rates per liter in Accra." While Gilbert says,
"Can you imagine that? Imagine paying that."
I can't imagine paying that. Not with everything else we have to deal with. That'll be an interesting one. I'm guessing hence why the conversation is still going on about removal of fuel subsidy. We've got more messages in. Gilbert Musa from Festac says, as of from 2010 till date, Port Harcourt Airport has not been upgraded to meet with international standards. Infrastructure is key to improving our aviation sector in Nigeria. Whilst Lenin says, I remember somebody was always talking about other governments having oil at $100 and mismanaging it. His time has come, and I wonder what he thinks about $100 a barrel oil. We've got more.
Go ahead.
Yinka says, wait, so even those Danfo-like airlines too will be charging 50,000 naira as well? Rodas, I try to avoid flying at night because I don't want to hear that we go to MMA and Ikeja disco has struck. Last time I tried, the flight was delayed until past 11 p.m. and we landed in Lagos. Oh, wow. By 1 a.m.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
He
goes on to say, I have never prayed the way I prayed that crazy night. Why are you even flying locally at night when you're not a witch? Yinka. Okay, we've got about a minute left. So let's see if we can try and wrap everything up into this. All right, so Rosis.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So let's see, we've got about a minute left.
Well, no, I mean, look, the messages are, thank you. I thank all our listeners for their messages. Gilbert makes a good point about infrastructure. Yinka makes a good point about, improving the, efficiency of some of the local airlines. And
which is
look, it's just a conversation that, exactly. And the whole flight at night, it's all infrastructure. So this is still very much an infrastructure-driven conversation. And I don't know, whatever you try to talk about in Nigeria, it brings us back to infrastructure. We need improved infrastructure. You get more flights flying. Hopefully you get prices coming down if volumes go up, but we'll have to just observe how.
Yeah, so that's it, right? Every single conversation, power and infrastructure. Those two always come up. Oh.
Exactly.
Well, Rodas, here we are at the end of the show, and thank you, by the way, for bringing up the role of private enterprise in this, because it's always good to celebrate when stuff is working in Nigeria. Otherwise,
of course,
we just think that Nigeria is broken permanently.
We have to.
All right, so people, you can find Rotas up on Twitter, where he resides at Rotanquote. Yes, and make sure you tag us in the conversation as well. We are at Smooth981 FM. Rotus, thank you so much for today. See you
Thanks, Shopware. Take it
tomorrow.
easy. All right,
6:15.
tomorrow. Yep.
Bye. All right, people. So coming up, we've got great music for you. And then at 7:30, it is a Freshly Pressed. Stick with us. Love music, love life, love smooth 98.1.
Business Express. Brought to you by EnterSwitch. Transaction solutions you can depend on. Let's talk about the